The Seahawks signed Geno Smith to a 3-year, $105 million deal. And so now that must certainly mean that there is no way with the 5th overall selection in the first round that they're going to take a quarterback, right? Tap your brakes. Not so fast, Seahawks fans. I think at number 5, a quarterback is still very much in play. And in fact, I have a particular quarterback who I think now becomes almost a likely potential target if the Seahawks are going to look at taking a quarterback at that spot. When you look at this past week at the Combine, there were quite a few players that raised their draft stock, but maybe none more so than Anthony Richardson. He came into this draft already looked at as a first-round quarterback, probably going to be a top 20 pick minimum. But with this Combine and the show he put on, not nearly just a show, but an absolute lighting up of the Combine in every way, well, that's going to vault him up the boards most certainly. And now he does probably sit in the top 10 minimum, and even with a chance of going in the top 5 with maybe even an outside chance, I know I dare say it here, of being the number 1 overall selection. But at this point, if things fit to type and how we understand it, he will probably be there at number 5. I'd estimate you're going to see 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 4, and that's going to be Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis, which would then leave Anthony Richardson. He's unique in this draft in that he's going forth not because he doesn't have the talent of those other guys who are going ahead of him. He would be going just a little bit later than them because of the fact that he's young. He's not seasoned. He's only started 13 games in college. It's going to take him some time to develop. He's not as close as those other frontline quarterbacks in this draft to being ready to start. And so that's worthwhile to some more value to other teams. But it does open up an opportunity for the Seattle Seahawks. He went into this Combine this last week, posting scores of a 4.43 40, jumping almost 130 inches on the broad jump, 41 inches on the vertical, a 1.52 10-yard split. So he has quickness in addition to that speed. He can go from stop to start very fast, which is very nice to have at the quarterback position. And then his arm showed out to be true as well. And so he really came away from this Combine reinforcing the fact that this kid is an upper-level talented prospect. There are things that he needs to clean up in his game, but if you have a quarterback that's only started 13 games, you would expect there to be some rough edges that you have to hone out just a little bit. Within those rough edges are indeed the flashes he does show of a quarterback who can eventually become refined. You worry about the scrambling type of quarterback because they often suffer from stunted quarterback growth. Having running back ability at the position can be both a blessing and a curse because that urge to run is always at the forefront. Rather than use the subtle skills of the position, they're bailing out of the pocket, looking far too often to use their legs. I want to show you a couple of plays to illustrate my point, that Richardson is already displaying some of these subtle skills of the position. The type of flashes of these skills jump out to me because when you look at recent, highly mobile quarterbacks who've entered the last few drafts, this tends to be a missing trait. If it's there in flashes, then those skills can eventually be there in full. First play I'm going to show you, it's 3rd down, and Florida needs to get to the 42-yard line for a first. Richardson needs to remain patient in the pocket and let his long developing receivers' routes break free. If there's a quarterback spy, there's no way he's going to get the 10 yards for the first down all on his own. After the snap, the Kentucky defense drops into a cover 3 look. The middle linebacker is in an obvious spy responsibility of AR. What I like about this play is post-snap, Richardson stares right on into the soul of the single high safety, holding him in the middle of the field while his receiver's routes develop. He intends the whole time to throw to his receiver running the 9 route near the seam, but any indication of going that way, and the safety will cut off the route. Richardson waits to look back across the field to the intended receiver until he's practically ready to throw the football. He steps and plants towards his target, shoulders closed, and lets it rip, putting the ball placement between the trailing corner and the safety hurrying to recover. He throws this low on purpose to keep his receiver from getting demolished. First down. The throw was nice. The eye discipline was even better. On this next play, once again, Anthony Richardson's dealing with a 3rd and long, and this time the degree of difficulty is amping up just a little bit more because it is that mighty Georgia defense. So he's going to drop back to pass here, and based off of his pre-snap look where he sees the 2 corners and off coverage, the single high safety, This is instructing him that I'm going to try to hit the middle of the field to get this first down. The problem is that number 15, the middle linebacker for Georgia, is dropping with depth right to the spot that Anthony Richardson wants to hit. And he recognizes this immediately post-snap. What you'll then notice is Richardson's eyes then turn to the running back, leaking out into the flat. And what this also then does is, in conjunction with that, cause that middle linebacker to take a couple steps forward out of the zone that he was just in, which then opens up the play to be completed. A beautiful job by Richardson here to bring that defender up, but he wasn't done there. Because if you also notice on this play, his right tackle gets completely whipped post-snap by the left defensive end, who's just flying past that right tackle without barely being touched. Richardson uses some real nice pocket subtlety here by moving up a little bit, only a couple steps, not bailing out of the pocket as a lot of these scrambling type of quarterbacks would have done in this situation where they go, oh, there's pressure, I've got to run for my life. Instead, he climbs the ladder of the pocket a couple of steps, buys himself just a little bit of time as he's looking out to that running back to bring the middle linebacker up, and then completes the third down play. What do you get when you get great pocket awareness and movement combined with twitchiness at the quarterback position? Anthony Richardson, that's what you get. On this play, he's going to have himself a tall task once again. And once again, he's going to make a future NFL player look silly. In this case, it's going to be one Jared Verse, outside linebacker for Florida State. And when Anthony drops back into the pocket here initially, Verse is stonewalled by the left tackle of Florida, but Verse, being the good pass rusher that he is able to counter back inside, and he suddenly seems to have a clear, clean pathway to get himself to Anthony Richardson and not only take him down, but potentially lay a huge hit on the play. Well, Richardson, with just one quick step up into the pocket, is seemingly right past Verse, but as I've said before, and as we're seeing again here, doesn't merely look to then leave the pocket and go and see how many yards he can get running and say, okay, it was a dead play, it's not my fault, the offensive lineman wasn't able to pass block. Instead, he still maintains his eyes on the football field, flicks the ball out to the running back in the flat, and turns this into a positive play without taking a hit. It's a very subtle thing he's doing here, but again, this is a future guy that's going to be taken in, I think, the first round in Jared Verse, and he's just making him look silly. Another play, another spot here where Anthony Richardson again uses his eyes to clear a defender off the spot from where he wants to go. And once again, he's going to do it to a pro NFL defender, a man that's going to be playing on Sundays in Jamie Robinson, who should be taken in this upcoming 2023 NFL draft somewhere between the second and third round. Post-snap, this one's very easy to see. He understands Jamie is locked into what he's doing, and he's going to read his eyes. And so Richardson, again, moves him with his eyes off the spot, gets him to depth across the field because the whole while, Anthony Richardson's looking to come to the backside. He does so as soon as he gets Jamie to commit into his break, and then he lasers in a pinpoint pass into the receiver, which had a very small window of opportunity to land it in there as we see the defender just misses getting his hand in there. So not only, again, showing that ability to move the defender with his eyes, but also showing that there is that accuracy that is in his game. Maybe you don't always see it tremendously consistently, but it is in his game. So the Seahawks sit there at number 5 with the opportunity to select them. Now, with signing Geno Smith, there was a bit of an impetus here to go out there and maybe try to just simply go for it and see if you can push fully for a Super Bowl. And that would mean stacking better talent across the board, not having that sort of, we're sitting in this nice, easy position of why don't we just take our quarterback because our team is so well stocked. This is almost like a bonus pick. But you also have to look at it on that shoe on the other foot in the respect of you're not going to be picking 5th overall anytime soon. It's been 20 years since you were even here in the first place. And before that, it had been a while since you had been there. You're not into this territory very often. And with currently the trajectory of this team, with the young talent of this team, you're not likely to be here very often into the future. So having the 5th pick now, and not only having the 5th pick, but having the opportunity to take a very highly talented quarterback has got to be something that the Seahawks truly do consider in this situation. And they have the perfect environment to move Richardson into. You have a guy in Geno Smith now who's at the very minimum going to be here probably the next 2 years. You can give now Richardson that time to sit on the bench, develop, watch, learn. Whereas you know how this works with other teams when they tend to take a quarterback like Richardson. Or if you'd probably go to any other kind of situation at this point in time where you'll hear the coaching staff and the front office talk about how they need to be patient in the offseason just after they pick him. And then you get to the regular season and they go 1-4 and they're just like, come on, kid, throwing him out onto the football field like you're tossing a 2-year-old into the deep end of the pool without any floaties. And then they fail. And everybody then calls that guy a bust and says, oh, then he sucks. But that's always, it's so often with these young quarterbacks about the environment you put him in and putting him in that right place to have that little bit of time to watch and develop. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. It does help quarterbacks to be able to have that time to not develop bad habits, to be able to watch and learn. And Seattle will be able to provide him that while also now being able to have a guy they can call off the bench if they want to run some kitschy running back plays, some read option quarterback plays, do some stuff that's just built to his skill set in the interim from time to time to throw defenses off. They can call upon that. Not to mention having a little bit of insurance for a quarterback who's going to be 33 years old next year. So many fans might be a little bit hesitant to want to look at quarterback with this pick or to be looking at Anthony Richardson with this pick. But as I said, keep in mind, you're not going to be here anytime soon at number 5 overall, and you're not going to have the opportunity to take a quarterback of this talent and Anthony Richardson anytime in the future. Because make no mistake about it, when you come down to the pure goods, when you come down to the pure talent, when you come down to who's got the highest upside, there is not a quarterback in this draft who can claim it more so than Anthony Richardson. So to walk away from this draft with the most talented quarterback, after last year you walked away the draft, the most talented 2 tackles of that draft, maybe the most talented running back, most talented cornerback. That's how you build up a Super Bowl team. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.